The crisis in football. Part 2: Racism in football. Firstly, we would like to point out when we talk about racism in football, it is not just limited to the sport itself, but also extends to the larger society in which it exists. We need to expand the scope of the question of racism in general as part of a societal issue. Maybe the passion of football brings perceptions of racism to the surface, acting as an outlet for learnt behaviour. Racism and discrimination. Racism and discrimination have long been issues in the world of football, and unfortunately, they continue to be a major problem in the sport today. From racial slurs and abuse directed at players, to the lack of diversity in coaching and management positions, it is clear that more needs to be done to combat these issues. Here are some key statistics that highlight the extent of the problem. According to a report by Kick It Out, a UK-based organisation that works to combat discrimination in football, there was a 32% increase in reports of racism in English football in the 2019 to 2020 season. This included both on and off the field incidents, as well as social media abuse. Information from the Kick It Out website states in the 2021-22 season we have seen a 41% increase in reports from the grassroots game, 94 in the season of 2020 versus 159 in the season of 2022. Social media. On social media, Kick It Out say they saw a 38% drop in social media reports between the 2019-20 and 2021-22 season. A lot of work has been done to tackle online abuse in the past 18 months, including the introduction of a monitoring platform by the Premier League, as well as a football online hate working group established in 2021 by Kick It Out, which has addressed processes around sanctions and enforcements, as well as communications and campaigns. A study by the Professional Footballers Association found that 72% of professional footballers in the UK have experienced racial abuse at some point in their careers. The Professional Footballers Association funded a research project carried out by the ethical data science company, Signify, found there was a 48% increase in unmoderated racist online abuse in the second half of the 2020-21 football season, with 50% of abusive accounts coming from the UK. A quote by Darren Moore, chair of Premier League Black Participants Advisory Group, highlights the importance of reporting and visibility when he said, "It's hugely important we continue to move in the right direction and develop these pathways and visibility across all areas." No to racism. In 2019, UEFA launched a 3-year campaign called No to Racism to combat discrimination in football. However, a report by Fair Network, a group that monitors discrimination in football, found that there were more instances of racist behaviour at Union of European Football Association sanctioned matches in 2019 than in any other year since monitoring began in 1999. In terms of diversity in coaching and management positions, a report by the Union of European Football Associations found that only 3% of coaches in professional football in Europe are from ethnic minorities. This is despite the fact that around 25% of players in professional football in Europe are from ethnic minorities. Recent data suggests challenges remain. The Black Football Partnership found only 4.4% of managers in England are black compared with 43% of Premier League and 34% of EFL players. PFA data shows that only 0.45% of professional footballers are South Asian, with about 0.9% in academies, despite 7 to 10% of the wider population of the UK being South Asian. Clearly, these are just most of the egregious statistical facts in football. Given the amount of players coming from different diverse backgrounds as players, the question is, why are players from diverse backgrounds not going into key positions in football when they retire or even entering the sport? What are some of the main drivers of racism? So the question is, what is driving racist abuse? What is the root cause of racism? Is it subliminal indoctrination driven by the mainstream media through films, news reports, and political rhetoric? And are these perceptions being passed on from generation to generation? Former Liverpool and England footballer, John Barnes, says media coverage has a lot to answer for when it comes to racism in the game. John asks the question, does the media influence society? John goes on to say the only way to stop racism, you have to tackle it holistically, looking at how to get rid of racism, and the only way we can do that is to tackle the cause, not the symptom. The suggestion that racism is a wider society problem and not just an issue in football is a valid claim. A large amount of facts support this view from a historical perspective to current modern-day issues around racism in society. A disturbing picture in football is just the tip of the iceberg. These statistics paint a disturbing picture of the state of racism and discrimination in football, which could be suggested, given football's demographic target group could be viewed by some as a snapshot of society. It is clear that more needs to be done to combat these issues and create a more inclusive and welcoming environment in the sport. This includes stronger sanctions and penalties for those who engage in racist behavior, as well as efforts to increase diversity and representation in coaching and management positions. Without taking action to address the root cause of societal racism, football and other sports will continue to be marred by discrimination and inequality. Football clubs are heritage community assets, so they should be accountable to those communities they purport to represent. Football is uniquely powerful and can be a catalyst for social change, which can create a game where everyone feels they belong. However, until we show our humanity and understand the root causes of inequality, which are drivers of perceptions leading to stereotyping and labeling, it's not just football that has an issue. Society at large has the issue. Football and sport in general is just the tip of the iceberg. Conversations and education. For education about these issues, Kick It Out have an academy to learn the facts about equality, diversity, and inclusion. It can be hard to know where to start with issues like racism, misogyny, and antisemitism. Helping people to learn everything needed to kick discrimination out of our sport is a positive step, which can lead to the betterment of the problem of racism in society over time. In conclusion, racism in football is a complex and multifaceted problem that requires a multifaceted solution. While progress has been made in recent years, there is still much work to be done to create a more inclusive and welcoming environment for all players, coaches, and officials within the sport. Clearly, much more needs to be done to address the deep-seated issues of racism in football and society. Only by addressing these issues head-on and working towards real, lasting change can we hope to create a more equitable and just society for all. We have hope that the good people in football and society at large can keep standing up for equality and inclusion. We all need to be vigilant and call out issues of racism not just in football but in everyday life, so the next generation can learn that it is not acceptable to condone racism in society in any form. We would like you to consider this quote from Erica Huggins. "We can together change the world. We are all threaded together like a huge tapestry of humanity. And we forget that we are interconnected."
This was a short introduction from Dynamic Sport Marketing. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos like this.